Continuing my video series at chess.com about the correspondence team match played between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This one was played on board 153. Our man is Markof versus CloudyDay. Got a mid 1600 versus a low mid 1400 rating advantage for us. There's not much to these two games because White is going to drop a piece early in both games, and certainly didn't have to. We'll try to come to some conclusion as to why this happened. We're in a Sicilian defense and the Najdorf variation, and White chooses the Sozin Sicilian. This was a line favored by world champion Bobby Fischer. The normal move is e6, and there's definitely a lot of theory on all of these. These games have been played countless times over the years. So I'm not sure at what point book ends, but here Black is playing an accelerated expansion on the queen side with the idea of menacing the e4 square, and White has to step carefully or he may drop that pawn. And again, I'm not too familiar with all the lines. I know there's a possibility to play b4, but to undermine e4, but I know that there are certain lines where White can give up that pawn, and I'm just not up on all the theory. I would hope that both sides are checking the books on this to make sure that they can take advantage of this or not be taken advantage of this. But we'll go with what actually happens, and it's kind of similar to what I just showed. But as I explained, White's going to drop a piece here, and it's coming up here in just a moment. Okay, so here we have the pressure on the knight, which is guarding the pawn on e4, so maybe White has to lose a pawn here. But White goes for a little combination here, and he forgets one little detail. Okay, so he makes an exchange. That forces Black's reply. And here White sees a tactic, but I don't think he was paying attention and counting material here, because he sees a sacrifice that he can regain the piece. He plays bishop takes f7 check, and then he gets a fork. Black needs to take the bishop, and here comes White's fork, and Black stops the check, but and White regains his piece. But White's forgot one minor detail. Nothing is guarding his knight here. This knight is on the take, is I guess the better way to say it. And as far as I can see, Black has just won a piece. And really, the rest of the game doesn't require much comment at all. I'll just kind of run through the games, and we'll come back and try to find a better move for White. Now this pawn falls anyway. But the fork doesn't matter. The knight comes back. And it's just a matter of time here for Black to use attrition and trade off pieces and win this game. And like I say, there's a little threat on e6, but Black covers that. And here he's trying to deflect the queen from protection of e6, but that doesn't work. Queen just comes to b6, and now maybe White could play bishop takes h6 here. He doesn't. Bishop takes, pawn takes, queen. Let's see. Let's look at this. Bishop takes. Maybe White should do this. Let's see. Menacing e6. You either guard it or give it up, and White's gotten one pawn back because maybe White's getting some activity here. The Black king is kind of without shelter. I need to stay on the bishop. Let's try f8. Suddenly, White has three pawns for two pieces. I don't think that's enough. It's a nice idea to sack for for an attack, but it's just not enough, and Black would win that. Okay, so bishop d4, menacing e6 again. Black covers that. and Black's happy to trade rooks, and just offers more trades, and poor White is just getting worn down. Rook c7 is a defensive move. White can't advance his pass pawn. He can hang on to it for a while, but Black has an extra piece that can surround that thing and win it. And here he comes. The knight's headed over to that side of the board. And eventually that a pawn is going to fall. Now here White doesn't protect it. He just lets it go. And, well, he will in just a moment. And now it's gone. And the knight's beautifully posted on e4. White's got a little bit of pressure. But Black covers that, just brings the knight back. And after g4, Black offers a queen trade, and White ended up losing the game on time. So let's come back to that critical point where this pawn went to b4. What can White do differently? Well, e4 isn't menaced. It was slightly in the position before Black played knight c6. Where can this knight go? Well, how about d5? I mean, that's a logical place to put it. It's threatening to drop into b6 in some variations. You try to get a5 in. Well, maybe you're going to lose that a pawn. But it's pressuring b6. It's threatening to double the Black kingside pawns. White is close to getting his development complete here. This pawn's a little shaky. Let's see. If you take, now how do you want to take back? If you take with the pawn, you open up a diagonal for the queen, but you shut the bishop in. But maybe the bishop can get into play this way. If you take with the bishop, you put a pin on, well, you can break the pin. And, nothing's guarding this pawn. With careful play, the chances are about even here, I would say. So anyway, let's reset the board and bring up the other game. And again, White's going to win a piece just quickly. And look at that. Won't start him at move 1, will it? Sometimes it does. Okay. Queen's Gambit accepted. White regains his pawn. And I'm not sure where book ends here, but White sets a little trap here that Black falls into. Now, logically, if you're playing Black, your first goal is to equalize, and you equalize with development. Okay? There would be nothing wrong with castling, and that might have been the better choice, but Black sees a pawn and he takes it, but he runs into a little trouble here. And now, unfortunately for Black, he's going to mishandle this, but we'll see what happens, then we're going to come back and analyze it. You see, here's a fork. But Black's not without resources, and I'll show you what they are in just a moment. He does find the first correct move. But you see, this bishop on c4 is pinned. Black can regain his piece. He's lost a piece. He can regain it with b5, and we'll talk about that afterward. Instead, Black just ends up going down a piece here. Tempoing the queen, driving the queen off the pin on the 4th rank, and White has just won a piece. And really, there's not much to this game, because when you're down a piece, unless you can come up with some clever attack, you're going to lose. And Black is way behind in development here, and just attrition wears poor Black out. Now here the queens come off. That's something Black couldn't afford. He does have 2 pawns for the piece, but it isn't enough. And we just see some more moves being played, and White owns the dark squares. Okay, so oops, there goes a pawn. So now Black only has 1 pawn for the piece. That's just not enough, and he's down to playing with 1 rook. Now he's losing another pawn. He does have a pass pawn, but it's easily blocked. White has a bishop that's versatile. There it goes, but it just gets blocked, and the bishop's doing a nice job. It's covering. Maybe what black should play here is rook e7. The idea
to put the rook here, but I think that white says fine. Rook e7, just play rook d4, and if rook e7, rook takes d3, and black is doomed, and he's doomed anyway. Now white's getting ready to run his pawns on the queen side, but before he does that, he makes sure that his king doesn't get back ranked. And he sees the target out there. It's on d3. Hey, you want to trade rooks and make it easy for me? No thanks. Okay, fine. I'll go win your pawn. And there it is. It's going to win the pawn. And that pawn's not going anywhere, so white covers it and collects the pawn. And at this point, black lost on time as well. So let's go back and look at what black could have done. I don't know why he went into this move when he had a chance to get his piece back. So this is the critical stage. b5 is going to win it back. Now white has some options here. White could just castle. That's one of them. Give back the piece and give black a bad pawn structure. But also interesting is just play knight takes b5. Now here black does have a check. Might as well take it. And I don't think black has time to come down and gobble this pawn. I think he's going to run into trouble. White could just castle queenside, save his rooks, and here I'll show you. See, black needs to get his piece back, and now his only move to get his piece back just allows a very strong attack by white. Look at the black king. He's in trouble. So let's see. How do we want to do this? One way to do it is these bishops are just going to rake the. Well, no, rook takes. No, we can do it. Rook takes. This is kind of interesting. You're going to answer queen takes with a check of our own. So here we're stepping black into an annoying pin. And this isn't forced. I'm just kind of playing around looking at it the first time. This is how you analyze a chess game. You test ideas out. Now black needs to cover d7, so let's try it this way. And gosh, white looks like white can play bishop takes here. See, check. You got to take back with that. And here comes this check. And looks like black is going to go down a piece here. Now he does maybe get a couple of nuisance checks here. Let's see. I don't think he has a perpetual check. Rook takes, king takes, queen check. King d2, he's out of checks. Although the queen does get active. Queen can run over to b1, but white can bring his queen to b8. Cover all the bases. Let's see, check here. You can drive the king in the corner, but I don't think that's enough. So, can't take on g2. That's going to lead to disaster. But he doesn't have to take on g2. There's nothing making him take on g2, right? Let's just take this back now. Okay, now we're going to give a check. Okay, now look at the poor black king again. He's kind of stuck here. Bishop d7. You want to try that? Let's see. Bishop takes. You have to take with the king because you can't take with the knight. The knight's guarding the queen, and suddenly the black king is exposed. Well, we can check knight d5. Let's see. Just a safe, solid move is just castle, be done with it. And this has to be favorable for white.
The bishop's on superior to the knight on an open board. White will create an outside pass pawn in the ending. Oh, wait a minute. I'm hanging my queen, our queen here. I'm good at these one movers. Well, you can just trade queens and go into a favorable ending, but let's keep them on. Where are you going to put the king? E7. Now, maybe you can get somewhere with this bishop check. Ooh, you know, that looks like trouble. Where does the black king go? My goodness. Oh, wait, we're pinned. Okay, we have to do this first. Okay. Let's see. Now, black's got to get his king to safety. Bishop c5 is a serious, very serious threat. You can play knight d7 to stop it, or park the king on f8 and after bishop check, the king's just out of play. Or oh, actually, this rook is what's out of play. Although maybe it could get into play this way. This has to be good for white. Let's see. I'm inclined to want to try this just so that we can hopefully castle by hand. But you know, d7 is going to need attention. Okay, let's see. So let's guard it this way. White's got to be for choice here. This threatens some nasty discoveries. Check, check, or just take the pawn. I mean, three different good moves here. You know, if you put the king here, you still have this discovery. Although maybe black can have some pressure on this, but this has got to be favorable for white. So you know, it's hard to recover when you're a whole piece down. This would have given him more of a fighting chance. Clearly losing the piece, he just got ground down. But white has plenty of chances to find good moves. So gobbling that pawn, you know, I don't know if queen c2 is book, but if it is book and it is a trap, well, I'm going to assume it is. It's only move 7. Black should have smelled a rat. Black should have pulled out the databases, and you can always find them free. Just go to Google, free online chess database. Good opening books will show stuff like this. You can find why knight takes d4 is not good. I mean, I can see it right now. What's wrong with it? The knight is guarding the bishop on b4. Now, you don't have time to play bishop takes check because the pawn will take and the knight is guarded. So, and if you take with check first, white will take back with the pawn and d4 is guarded. But here, black's just getting in trouble. And if he takes time and analyzes the threats, captures, and checks, you know, your active moves, black will discover he can't afford to go into this line. And that's how you get better at chess. You know, you analyze the correspondence game, and this video is now 18.5 minutes long, and how much of it was devoted to how black could have improved his game. You know, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, I don't know. You certainly can have, if you're playing online chess, you can spend 5 or 8 minutes and cover these things. If you're a little slower than I, a half an hour will find it. All right. Anyway, well played by Markof. You took advantage of your opponent's mistakes and earned your 2 points. And thanks everyone for watching. Take care.